Do you listen to your conscience? And if you do, which conscience do you listen to? And you're probably thinking, what does she mean, which conscience do I listen to? I ask because we have more than one. Let's take the example of you drop a piece of litter on the side of the footpath. Not saying you would do that, but if you did, how would you feel? Guilty? Nothing? Maybe you're not even aware you did it. Or you make a promise and a commitment to do something for someone and you don't do it, and you don't communicate with the person. What are the thoughts and feelings that travel through you? Nothing? Or do you find yourself justifying and making excuses? Maybe you feel some guilt, or maybe you brush it off as if nothing happened and you say, well, what's the issue? You may even be totally unaware you've done this. I had this with a family member who kept saying they were going to do something and they never did. I even brought it up a few times just to check in where they were at with it. And then I heard nothing more about it. And I gather from the lack of communication about it, they were not even aware of how my mother and I were so looking forward to them doing it. They were totally unaware of the impacts that they had on us, let alone the long-reaching potential impacts, because old Melinda would not have been accepting of the situation. And I would have gone, I'll never trust what they say again. Yes, a blanket statement for everything they say, which was my nice way of emotionally reacting, because I was never one for doing things by little bits. It was always in extremes. It was always all or nothing. So either I would trust their word or not trust it at all. And that's what happens for some people. I know their intention wasn't to set up expectations and then let us down. But this is what happens when people with all good intentions are not aware of the outcomes of their words and actions. And if they don't listen to their conscience, then they're in that unaware bliss. Some other examples for you. You see an animal that's hurt. Do you stop and help it out? Do you talk yourself out of doing anything, justifying it's not your issue? Do you walk past it and pretend you did not see it or do not care? Or another example. You know a family member is unwell and quite poorly. Do you keep in touch regularly to see how they are? Or do you just send texts because you're too busy to talk? Or do you justify not contacting them through convincing yourself that you don't want to disturb them whilst they lie lonely, feeling no one cares for them? Do you commit to doing something you really want to do, but you put it off, find other things to distract yourself, put others first, and then even complain about how you do not have enough time to do what you want to do? You know littering is not the right thing to do. You know making promises and not informing people you cannot fulfill those promises is you not being responsible, let alone being disrespectful and potentially even rude. It is cruel and inhumane to leave an animal in pain. And it's uncaring and unloving to not reach out and see how your family member is, especially via phone or video, or even go and see them. You can make time to do whatever you want to do. What we're going to explore in this video is what your conscience is, how you have 3 different consciences, and that you only have one true and pure conscience, and which one do you listen to within you? Hi, I'm Melinda Cates of I Make a Difference. Hey, and welcome if we have not connected before. And do say hello in the comments below. And do subscribe if you'd like to journey together. I explore the processes that we experience as part of our human experience that require yours, mine, everyone's attention, that require us to unravel because they're not natural to us, that require us to heal because they're the wounded and hurt parts of us, that require us to remember, reconnect to and reclaim as we journey our way back to our true self, so that we become our true self, fully expressing our soul potential in a human body. And part of that journey is being able to identify the different consciences we have, some that are a part of our human self, and then the one of our true self. Let's start with the question, why do we do things we know are wrong? Emotional avoidance, denial, lack of care, fear, and vulnerability, to name a few, and a lack of self-worth. In fact, you may not even know that what you're doing is wrong, yet you are here, so I'm sure you do. But for some people, they've become so disconnected from their true self and conscience that they've almost frozen it out so solidly that they're not even aware of this being wrong. This can be due to conditioning and the environment they grew up in and what was focused on, how things were done, and the examples they had to learn from. Or it can be from severe trauma. I worked with a person who was like concrete. Nothing penetrated his emotions, thoughts, or even his energy field. He often did things that were disrespectful, hurtful, and at times even nasty. It was like extreme denial was absorbing him, and he was, as I said, impenetrable. I then found out that he had been abandoned and rejected by his parents at a young age, and the only person in his life whom he trusted, was close to and felt safe with, was his sister, and she committed suicide. His protection was so strong and solid that it frozen the connection to his true self and his conscience. So, as he navigated through life, he had no reference point, no conscience or integrity to operate from as to what was right and wrong. What you do and don't do is a reflection of how you view and treat yourself internally. And when you're tuned into your true conscience and you listen to the essence of yourself, you will always do the right thing and the right thing by you. You will always honour and value yourself and everyone and everything, rather than doing what you know is wrong. Your conscience, your true conscience, will always call you to account for what you do that has the wrong intention, the wrong thing to do, and where it deviates from your integrity. Your alignment with your truth, integrity, and your knowing, which is the voice of your true self, your soul, will be so powerful. You will either not be able to do the wrong thing, which is what you experience once you strengthen the connection to your true self, and you will then naturally not do the wrong thing, because wrongness does not exist in the world of your soul self. And this is where you are more your true self than your human self. As your true self, there is no justifying. There are no excuses, blame, avoidance, or denial. It doesn't exist in the world of your true self. Your true conscience is the part of who you truly are, your true self, and it is pure and good in every way. And it helps your human self know what is right from wrong. Because wrong and doing the wrong thing, as I said, does not exist in your true self, your soul self. Your true conscience guides you morally, ethically, legally, responsibly, and out of love, respect, honouring, care, and consideration of everything and everyone. It guides your decisions and behaviour. It guides you to live a powerful, full, clean, intentional life during your human experience. Why? Because your human self has experiences where you're made wrong. You learn from doing the wrong thing, and it is the consequences or outcomes of this that influence whether you continue to do so or not. You are told what is the wrong thing to do, and people around you have unclean intentions. you know it's a very different world to our soul world. And that is why we're here, to have human experiences and to find our way back to our true self whilst we're in a human body. So your true conscience is required as a navigation point of rightness to guide you towards your integrity and to align you to your truth and true self. It's your guide that is there to support and encourage self-responsibility and self-accountability, and to guide you to do the right thing in this world. Because as human beings, we're so varied in our ability to be self-responsible and accountable. And why is something wrong to one person and right to another? Why do people do things that are perceived as and are horrific to other people, animals, and to our environment? Because to know what is the right thing, to be in tune with this and to act on it, well, it requires us to be operating from the goodness and purity of who we are, our true self, our soul self. It requires us to listen to and follow the truth, not our truth, the truth that is spoken from the voice of our true self. To be able to do so, well, it requires you to be aware that you have 3 different consciences that guide your decision-making and actions. And each of the different consciences are influenced by different elements and processes. Each of the 3 consciences have different purposes and as such impact your choices in different ways. So the actions you take and the outcomes you experience can have different rights and wrongs to them. To get to your true conscience, the place of universal truth and rightness, requires you to heal and unravel the conditioning of the 2 human self consciences you've learned to listen to, trust and respond to. And it requires you to rebuild your trust with your true self soul conscience. So what are the 3 consciences you have? There is firstly your intellect conscience, which is the mental processing of your human self. Then the second one is your emotional conscience, which is the emotional processing part of your human self. And the third conscience, your true conscience, is your knowing conscience, which is your soul self, true self voice. So what is your intellect conscience? Your intellect conscience is the voice you hear from your head. It shares rational, logical, analytical information with you, and it requires evidence in order for something to be right or wrong. Your intellect conscience is conditioned over your life, and it learns what is right and wrong, but it's based on what you're told by others as to what is right and wrong, acceptable and not acceptable, and it's based on evidence, rationale, and reasoning. It is conditioned by the information you've read and learned from education, family, and work. And it is what is right and wrong based on the laws of your land that you live in. It is the morals and ethics of the society you live in, the religion you're associated with, and the culture you're raised in. Such as, in some religions, it is wrong to get divorced, and it's wrong for a divorcee to remarry. And it's not wrong in others. In some cultures, it's wrong to look a person in the eyes. And in other cultures, it's deemed rude not to look at someone in the eyes. It is wrong to kill feral cats for some, whereas in other cultures, it's right to kill them. They are beliefs that have been categorized as right and wrong. Your conscience, your intellect conscience, that is, will tell you things like, you should not cry in public. My question to you is, says who? It'll also tell you things like, you should stand up for older people so they can sit down. Now, that one I totally agree with. At least offer the seat to the person. These beliefs guide your conscience as to what you should and should not do that is right and wrong. Now, some of these beliefs are truly good things, such as standing up for an older person to sit down, or as I said, at least offering that to them. However, there will be beliefs that are not true and right for you, and not the right thing to do naturally. If you cry in public, you cry. There's no right or wrong about this. It's a natural expression of what you are feeling as your human self. It's our personalisation and judgments of these situations and experiences that make them right or wrong. So your intellect conscience dictates to you based on norms, values, beliefs and expectations that come from others. And if you do not follow these norms, there may be emotional consequences. And if there are, then potentially your emotional conscience will then become your guiding voice in this situation. Your intellect conscience is not your pure and true conscience. It's one of your human self-consciences, and it requires unraveling of the thoughts and beliefs. But it has its times of being of great value, like supporting you to ensure that you are following the laws of the land. It also has been valuable to guide you through your life, to protect you in terms of following what is right by other people's beliefs, as you grew your ability to connect to your true self and listen to your true conscience. So value it. Now for your emotional conscience, which is situated in your heart region. And your emotional conscience is attached to and driven by guilt and shame predominantly, but also rejection and abandonment, loneliness, neediness, vulnerability, and your lack of self-worth. And phew, that is a lot. And that is why it is often a very dominant conscience, one that you probably listen to quite a bit. And there are those that don't as well. Your emotional conscience tells you what is right and wrong based on the emotion you feel. You are conditioned in your feelings as to what is right and wrong, and that's come from your experiences, the ones you had in life where you experienced messages of rightness and acceptance, wrongness and rejection. You got told off for the things that were wrong, and you felt guilt, shame, rejection and hurt. Then you were acknowledged for what you did right, and you felt happiness and possibly joy. But this was in the eyes of the people you grew up around, and they conditioned you, where others imposed their emotional issues, their emotional judgments and beliefs on you. They are your reference point of what is right and wrong, and they learned their right and wrong from the people that impacted and conditioned them. An example being, you innocently clapped at what someone was saying as you thought it was awesome, and you got told off for interrupting what was happening. So the message you were sent conditioned your emotional conscience to tell you, do not clap in the middle of someone talking. It is not the right thing to do. And if you do it, well, you're going to experience consequences, and that will hurt. The experiences of your past leave you with feelings of guilt, where your emotional conscience tells you you did something wrong. But that's not the case for all guilt. A clear sign of someone listening to their emotional conscience is when they apologise a lot. But in a lot of cases, they may not be apologising really for anything that they've done wrong. You see, there are 3 types of guilt. 1, warranted guilt. This is where you did or said something and you knew it was wrong. This guilt is the one to listen to, because you did not do what you knew was the right thing to do. So you actually went against your true conscience in doing the wrong thing. The second type of guilt is unwarranted guilt, where you did or said something and you knew it was right. You were innocent, but others made you wrong. This was the case in the scenario I just described, where you clapped out of support and acknowledgement. This was not wrong, but you were made wrong based on other people's emotions. With this guilt, you did the right thing. You went with your true conscience, but this was not right with others, so they dumped their guilt onto you. The third guilt, over-responsibility, in the guise of guilt, where at a young age you took on board adult-type responsibilities and behaviours well ahead of when you should. You learned as a child that these adult responsibilities were the right thing for you to do. You were conditioned by it. You learned to believe you're responsible for other people and their emotional well-being. So you learned to rescue, save, protect, fight for other people, and you took on board their issues and responsibilities. Because if you didn't, then you felt guilt. And if you felt guilt, you must be wrong. So you feel wrong if you don't take responsibility for adults and save them. But you're not responsible for them. They're responsible for themselves. Your emotional conscience requires unraveling of the emotional triggers and healing of the emotions. How can you even hear, let alone listen to your true conscience, your knowing, the voice of your soul, when you have conditioned emotional processing going on inside of you and your intellect conscience is battling with you and also overriding you? The voice of your true conscience is drowned out in the noise. Your true conscience, your knowing conscience, your soul, your true self, is the one pure place within you that is not touched by the outside world. It's not conditioned in any shape or form. It is the place of wholeness, purity, and goodness and rightness. And all of that's within you. This is where your true conscience is. The place where no unraveling of conditioning or healing of emotions is required. It's just about you remembering, connecting to, listening to, trusting and acting on this part of you. Your soul is the pure source, power, light and energy within you. It's where all your beauty, purity, goodness and rightness lies. The voice of your soul and true self is your knowing. That's why it's called your knowing conscience. Your knowing conscience is not influenced by any of the human consciences. It can be aware of them, but it is stronger than your emotions and intellect are. Your soul guides you to do right by you, to value, honour, respect and care for yourself. And your soul guides you to only do the right thing. Which when you do the right thing, you are doing right by you. And when you do this, you do right by everyone else and every living thing and everything. The more you connect to this part of you, it will clearly, simply and gently say to you, slow down when you're driving too fast. Pick up that piece of paper when you walk past some litter. Say hello when you see someone you know. It will not let you lie, steal, cheat, avoid, justify, ignore, disrespect, deny, blame or dump on others. It's not who you truly are. And when you are your true self, there are no emotional insecurities or norms of others that require you to do any of these. Imagine if all of us reconnected to our true self and lived from who we truly are, then everyone on this earth will be doing the right thing. Then we would not need the police. We wouldn't need councils and governments. There would be cooperation, respect, kindness, care of each other. The environment, animals and wildlife will let flourish. And we will do what is totally natural to us in a natural way. Express the goodness, the purity and rightness of who we truly are. Even if we cannot have the world like this, currently that is, each one of us can continue to grow our ability to listen to our true conscience. Each one of us can grow our ability to do the right thing and call ourselves to account and take responsibility to change things and stand up for what is right. Continue to unravel your intellect conscience and the conditioned thoughts and beliefs that are not right and not right for you, and heal the emotional impacts of your past that have had a hold on you, so you can clearly hear the voice of your true conscience and what is right and right for you. And if you would like to explore some of your emotional triggers to continue your journey of unraveling and neutralizing of them and healing of your emotional conscience, then you can check out the My Emotional Triggers link below. Stay safe, be gentle on yourself, and continue to grow your ability to do right by you and tune your senses into listening to your true conscience, because you deserve to.